from the Workplace Ninja Summit in Baden. Smart talks, sharp insights, and stories worth sharing. This is the Workplace Ninja podcast.
So, good morning. Day 2 of the Ninja Summit in Baden. How was your first day?
It was great. It had a lot of insights. Yesterday we had a great podcast as well. So it was a good day. But now we are day 2 and we need to kick off again.
Yeah. My name is Frans Oudendorp and you are?
Kenny Buntings, and we are both on the Ninja Orga team. And we try to amuse people, staff and speakers.
Yeah, we try to host this recording as well. And we have not only Microsoft on the table. So we have one from...
Hi, I'm Chris from Glukania.
Glukania. Yeah. And Peter, you're from?
Yes, I'm a product manager at Microsoft.
And a short introduction from both of you. Chris?
Yeah, so I've been doing IT security now for over 15 years. So I'm Microsoft Security MVP, specialized in identity and access management. And yeah, that's basically what I do.
Yep.
I'm doing identity and access management in regards of security.
And because of identity and access management, the topic that we have today regarding global secure access, that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. So I've started back in the days in networking. So I did a lot of perimeter stuff, building VPNs, firewalls, all that stuff.
Yep.
Then I had a long identity phase, so starting in Active Directory, moving to the cloud, and now we can combine all of that stuff and
nice.
And go to zero trust.
Full in.
And Peter, what makes your job within Microsoft that you are now on global secure access?
So I joined Microsoft kind of 13 years ago or so, so quite a long time. I started as a consultant and then architect, and then in 2017 I moved to the product group, so that's the engineering team building and running the products. And I've been in identity ever since, so in the Entra ID product group. And we do have basically 3 different roles there. There's the engineer who builds the feature and does all the coding. And there's the feature PM who thinks about what a feature should do and should not do. And then comes the customer and says, this is all rubbish because you built something nobody needs. So my role is I'm in the customer experience team. So I'm basically a customer-facing product manager. And I try to understand what a customer needs. I talk a lot to large enterprise customers to understand what they need, what they don't need. And I go to the Siemenses and BASFs of the world and say, hey, why don't you use Entra ID? And they might say, yeah, Entra ID, that's a bad product. We don't like it. I said, okay, there's 2 choices. And either you just don't know better and I need to educate, or it is true and Entra ID is bad and then we need to know why and we need to make it better. So I basically feed back the information to engineering and say, okay, put the customer hat on and say, you can't build this because the customer would not use it. And private access in particular, in global secure access, that's the things I'm working on for the last 2-3 years or so.
Yeah, and before we dive into the topics that you have presented here or will present on the summit here, can you take us a little bit on the history of global secure access? What is it? What comes it from? Why is it part of Entra? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Azure Active Directory was renamed to Entra, and everybody said, "Oh my gosh, they just renamed it again." So why can't we just call it Azure Active Directory? And one reason was because it grew over that promise to be the identity system. So now we have identity and network access. And Entra just basically covers the stuff beyond the old directory and authentication service scenarios. And global secure access is just one piece. So if you really care about zero trust as a whole, you have the user identity, the device identity, and the network. And the network was always the missing part because we said, okay, identity, that's one team in the customer, and network is a whole different team. And the larger the customer, the less they talk to each other. Sometimes they don't even like each other. So that's why we said we need to bring it together and have a deep integrated network access solution into the identity stack. That's how Global Secure Access was born.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's also there was a gap that Microsoft had for a long time. they needed to fill with competitive products that were already there in a mostly also I think run and organized by a networking team and not really by the, let's say, modern workplace team.
Yeah.
So that's also a question I have. In a smaller organization, you can make quickly, I would say, that change. You need to remove certain complexities like Fortinet gate firewall or something. Say, we are not that specialized in that. So they replace that, I would say, rather quickly. But in bigger organizations, I can imagine that is a challenge.
It is a big challenge, and I can talk about the very large customers. So the problem here is not so much the technology stack, it's more the human factor. Where, as I said, in the past, the identity team is one team in a silo, and the network team is a completely different team in a silo, and they not necessarily talk and work much to each other, and therefore we have this natural resistance when the identity team tries to introduce something like network access, and they say, hey, that's my turf. You don't have to do anything with network access. So having that boundary and basically overcoming those kind of human interactions, that is more difficult sometimes. And then, of course, large customers, they have just 30, 40 years worth of legacy network history and boundaries which they have to overcome to get stuff done, where smaller customers much easier. But you can chime in on how other customers see that.
In my projects, I usually talk to at least 3 teams, so the identity guys, the security guys, and the networking guys, and sometimes so the endpoints, the client management is also involved. So and to be honest, network was always complex.
Yeah.
And I think there is some fairy dust, but this product doesn't solve all networking
yes,
problems.
It does.
That's why we're doing this together.
Yes.
Yeah, if
have to do the reality check.
if you talk about the session, first I would say to present not only from a community perspective, but together with one of the Microsoft guys.
So last year we both had a session about global secure access at the Linear Summit.
Yep.
And I think afterwards we knew each other, but we had more contact.
We never spoke before,
Yeah,
so
you
we
had a
had
good chat
independent session
afterwards,
last year. And I said, oh my gosh, another guy is doing global secure access. This year we decided, hey, let's do it together and do a joint session between a partner and Microsoft themselves.
To be honest, I think that's a great chemistry, because
Absolutely.
at some point you also get feedback in the audience, and for you I think that's really valuable to get to grasp that feedback. If I may ask, Christopher, what's your favorite part of global secure access? What do you really, really like about it?
Yeah, I'm more into the private access part.
Oh, private, sorry, yeah.
I think the internet access part will get the interesting features later on, but at the moment private access is the more interesting part. Doing a lot of projects for VPN replacement, and what we now can do is we can extend the whole power of stuff like conditional access to the network layer.
Yeah, that's also one of my favorites. I think that's really nice to see that integration really get tight.
And you had the question of why is it Entra private access and not Defender or Azure or so. So this Peter just said, there's an identity integration, and it's a very, very deep integration. So, and we showcased some of that in our session yesterday. And so that you can use all of that stuff, access packages and privileged identity management and conditional access and everything you can think of. So
yeah, also the granularity is really nice. That's something I think Microsoft did well, on how granular you can really go from point to point or from service to service, which in other products is rather complicated as well to implement, where I think that in a Microsoft stack it's rather more straightforward because it's something you already know, I think.
Yeah. And I think, so comparing, because a lot of customers come to us and say, yeah, but there's the other vendors, like the well-known network vendors, which are there for a long time in this space. And why is Microsoft now introducing into the same space? Does it make sense? And the big differentiator for me is, and I'm a strong believer that if you care about zero trust, it doesn't help you that you have identity on the one side and network on the other side. And then the two different don't really interact. how is it good for you that I see a threat on the identity side, and maybe your identity protection risk goes up through the roof, and you disable the user or reset the password. But then your VPN gateway or your secure web gateway basically has no clue that something is wrong. And because the access token is good for another 5 hours, it just keeps the tunnel open for another 5 hours because there is no communication. Yep. And if you do this tight integration in Global Secure Access, we have the concept of continuous access evaluation and instant revocation. So within 5 minutes, Entra ID will tell the GSA client, hey, something is wrong, disconnect all the channels, and basically make the user authenticate again. And that is a unique differentiator nobody else on the market can do by design.
We are also we're a SOC provider, and I've seen many companies trying to integrate VPN into Sentinel and in series there's an MDI connection and so on, but I've never seen in practice really integrations including processes or even automation.
Yeah, automation is a hard part, yeah.
Yeah, but also the integration from an identity perspective, you can arrange single sign-on, probably, but the next step with the evaluation, within conditional access, with all the next steps.
Yeah, but what are they doing? They doing a SAML integration, then there is a SAML token, okay, it's valid for an hour, but most products, I think almost every product is just give you another cookie. It doesn't care. It's valid for 24 hours. And
I agree.
No, I think the whole conditional access integration and the continuous evaluation is a feature that is priceless. Actually, it's really something that I think if you, like you say, if you think zero trust, that's the way to go. But I'm just seeing, if I look at the market in Belgium at least, we try to defend it, but I see a lot of customers not yet ready in their mind. They think, oh, let's do zero trust, but they don't see all the building blocks you need to build first before you do the other steps. So don't know how that's in Germany. How is that feeling?
You go first.
So it depends.
That's a good Microsoft answer.
There are some. I had some conversations with firewall admins. So I'm a former firewall admin, and they told me, okay, we want that. We always wanted that kind of granularity and so on, but we'd like to run stuff that we understand. Mm-hmm. So, and some companies are very open, and some teams inside customers are very open for it, and I think I have a lot of discussions at the moment. And what surprised me a little is you always think about on-prem access. My colleagues from our Azure team asked me, okay, we have a lot of customers who want to access the resources in Azure landing zones. And we want to get rid of Azure VPN or express route routed connections and so on. Could we just integrate that stuff there? Yep. So it's not only the workplace team, it's often also the Azure teams that...
Do you think that the zero trust concept within GSA, within the other vendors, will replace the legacy VPN solutions as well?
It has to.
I totally agree. But
it has to. If you look last year, the primary or the most used initial access factor for ransomware attacks has been VPN compromise. Not identity compromise anymore, it's VPN compromise. There are so many CVEs, so if I open Google, I will find a new one.
I shouldn't say a name, but I'm not Microsoft, so I can look at Ivanti. They bought, I forgot the name before, FortiGate. Yeah, I'm not in the firewall space, but anyway, if you see how many CVEs were disclosed last month or 2 months ago, it's a rat race to get them fixed, patched, always a risk. That's what I like on the Microsoft solution as well. It was an agent, they're probably going to integrate it more and more into the Windows stack. So that is also a benefit because it's less maintenance, less things to think of.
And alone the fact that you have only outbound connections. You can run your data center behind a NAT router.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
If you talk about global secure access and real world scenarios that have been deployed in the last few months, what is what are the features that makes the most impact if we look at the last few months that have come out?
Yeah. So I would say so. First of all, we have tons of features in the pipeline. So a lot of features in private preview, in public preview right now. So there's a lot of really cool things coming, which I can't disclose all of them. Things we just released in the last few months, which are quite important. One is our private access sensor for domain controllers, which is quite cool because customers were asking Microsoft for decades, saying, "Hey, I want on-prem MFA enforcement." And Microsoft always said, "We don't have that. Go to your Silverford, CrowdStrike, some other partners filling that gap, and now we can do it ourselves. So we can do the on-prem MFA enforcement with private access." And with this private access sensor for domain controller, you can basically on a SPN level say, for which Kerberos ticket do I want MFA enforcement? And then you can basically force the user to say, you have to come through Global Secure Access to get the Kerberos ticket and then do conditional access, not just MFA, but compliant device and sign-in risk and all the beauties of conditional access. And basically, your domain controller will only issue the Kerberos ticket if you're coming through that flow, and will block it if you are on an unmanaged device in your internal network. So that's quite hot.
That's a super cool feature, yeah.
Absolutely. And the other one, going basically the other direction into internet access, is TLS inspection. Customers were asking us for a long time saying, hey, we need TLS inspection in Enter Internet Access. And this is a quite controversial discussion, especially in Germany with our Workers' Council and privacy thinking. And it is kind of a 50-50 thing where customers say, that's a big no-no. I can't do TLS inspection, that's privacy. And the other says, of course I have to, because it's my my company data, and I want to see what's going on. And for us, it's quite easy. It is an enabler feature, one of the baseline features. You own your PKI, you provide the certificate for TLS inspection, and then you can decide what traffic do I want to TLS inspect and which not. And it's completely up to the admin to control, but I think everybody should be aware all the advanced security features down the line, like URL path filtering, threat intelligence. I want to block malicious prompt injection, all the AI threats which are emerging. We need TLS inspection to look into the traffic, to understand what's going on, and then act accordingly. So for me, it's okay when a customer decides I don't want TLS inspection. They just need to be aware and make a clear decision why I should or should not do TLS inspection. So that was an important building block for us.
yeah.
Private access is one of the main parts and most important parts that have been come out. If we look at zero trust and web filtering, that kind of stuff, that's also important. Huge investments are done. Why is it important to monitor web from a zero trust perspective? Why is it important to monitor what people are doing within their job?
Yeah. So I mean, in the easiest way, you would do the typical web category filtering and saying you cannot go to a hate crime speech website category, but you can go gambling or whatever. So this is the typical. I want my users to be focused on business, not private stuff. Yep. So this is one aspect which customers were doing for a long time on their firewall. But then of course there is additional things, especially the upcoming AI trend, where maybe you allow Copilot in your business environment, and a user would have a very elaborate prompt to test out and add sensitive customer information as a Word file attachment. And they get the result from Copilot and said, oh, that's cool. Let's go to DeepSeek in China and see if that's the same result. And out of a sudden, you have a data loss prevention issue, where they upload customer data to China or to a public AI model. And this is something you want to basically block. The same as AI prompt poisoning and injection. So there are so many new things coming up with AI. That's why in Microsoft, we do AI for security, but also security for AI, because that is super important, that you stay ahead of the game instead of basically catching up afterwards. So internet access will do a lot of important things here, securing your future.
And what we see there is that AI when that comes onto the table, it brings a lot of features and products together in order to make your environment in a complete sentence full, from security, so to say. So it's not only Entra, it's also DLP and the Office 365.
You need that integration.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, where internet access can have a big advantage in the future. And this is also so we decided to bring that controversial discussion about TLS inspection also into our session, and we repeated our discussion yesterday.
You can imagine I'm pro TLS inspection, he was against TLS inspection in our session, but it was a very nice lineup between basically the back and forth discussion, why should you or should not do TLS
and I
inspection.
think we have in common, it's important that you understand the impact and that the admin is in control of what do I want to inspect and what is not.
Because also some applications will break with TLS inspection.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so
and there are
if you
some
have
privacy
MTLS,
concerns.
it will break. And for example, by design or by default, we do have a bypass list, and healthcare and financial categories we will bypass by default. And then you as an admin, of course, can have your additional configuration, say, I don't want to TLS inspect this traffic, for example.
But if you want to do serious data loss prevention, you have to go into the TLS stream because it's all web-based, and Microsoft has strong products in that area. So if you
Purview integration,
bring this together, if you use Entra, Internet Access, and Purview to defend against data loss with add AI also, I think this is very advanced.
There are a lot
use
of
cases.
things that came on lately and into the stack in different areas, like Franz was mentioning as well. But I think Microsoft has one advantage. That's why I think global secure access in general, also the internet access, is great. Is because it taps into that identity control plane. So you don't need to make connectors yourself. You don't need to grasp data. The data is on the bus and it's used in real time, and that's, I think, an advantage other vendors have more difficulties with.
Absolutely agree.
If we look at the global secure access, private access, really important. If companies want to start with it today, what are the top three practical tips that you would give them?
So the first thing, basically, most customers actually start with private access because this is the more pressing need, replacing VPN environments. And this is also why we in Microsoft in engineering had our focus for the last 1.5 years on private access as a main focus, because this is where the bigger customer demand was. And now basically we are shifting focus towards internet access, basically to completing that story as well. So we see internet access catching up a lot in the last few months. And then customers basically, they need to understand what is their current scenarios, which client they're starting from, where do I want to place my connector machines, do I have, as you said, Azure landing zones where I want to put a connector group to basically bring that connectivity. And then something which is really nice, if you ask a typical VPN admin, saying, do you know what John Doe from marketing needs from an access point of view? They would say, I have no clue, because in the past they had a VPN tunnel. So they had literally access to the entire internal subnet. So I don't know what they need or don't need. So what we have is a scenario we call quick access, where basically you mimic and configure the same full IP address range and port range like your VPN. And users can just swap over to private access and start using it. And then the traffic logs basically over a few weeks will collect what they're doing. And then we have a feature called application discovery, where you can see, okay, there's 1,000 users going to this destination on this port and protocol. Let's do a one-click migration and say, take those findings, create an enterprise application dedicated with these settings, assign the appropriate conditional access policy and the users. And over time, basically, from that I give you all access, you carve out the little pieces and you have macro segmentation so that you have a per access, private access ZTNA scenario. Yeah. So this is the very cool scenario, which customers love because they said, hey, now finally I know what's going on, because I had no clue what my users were doing before.
We use that as MSP as well for the smaller customers, not that big, 25 seats, 50 seats in between. We used the same feature like you explained, and we ripped out all the, most of the time a FortiGate firewall by Microsoft solution, and was actually pretty straightforward because we had no idea. We took over the customer, no idea what was there.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We know the service that were running, but which applications, which connections, and we got an insight through that. So we also had a documentation tool in one go. So I think it's a great idea and a great concept and a good tip.
I would say two or three customers start that way.
Yeah, I think one pro tip, if you start a POC and start a conversation with customers, make sure you have representative from all different teams present. Because we saw POCs failing when you said, the identity team and maybe the CISO and the security folks, they like this immediately. They love the concept of zero trust. They understand why zero trust is important. But if you leave the client and the device and the network team out of the discussion, you will have issues afterwards because they will block and say, what the heck are you doing? This is network stuff. That's not your responsibility. So make sure, especially in this initial kickoff introduction, that every team is present because, as I said at the beginning, the human factor of swapping basically from two different silos into one, that's the biggest one.
And if you add, Chris, you have also a tip or maybe a mistake.
Mistake.
I don't want to correct it.
That would be a mistake, yes, exactly.
We will do that later. There is a third profile, a third traffic profile. We talked about private access and internet access, but there's one thing called internet access for Microsoft traffic. Or have you renamed it already? So
internet access for Microsoft traffic.
Every 6 months at the marketing department.
It's included in your Entra license, so in your Entra P1, I think, and it takes care for all the traffic from the client to the Microsoft endpoints. And it brings you additional control, so the compliant network control, and it helps you to protect against token theft. And the impact on the users is very small, so if you're doing a private access rollout or something, just also enable this profile. It brings you additional logging, additional insights, token protection, and it's already included in your licenses.
I think the impact is very minimal, and because of the information that you get is huge.
If you have a SOC, your analysts will love it.
But I think there, and that's maybe something that I see. I have also seen that feature. I have been to some sessions, and when you explain it, it makes sense to do so. But I don't think a lot of customers are aware that this is a great addition for those kind of scenarios, like you say, token protection. So I think awareness in that area from maybe Microsoft pre-sales or whatever you call that, is not always there.
I agree, and I'm glad you brought it up. So the Microsoft Traffic Profile, which is basically a free edition because you paid for it anyways with E3 P1, that's normally for us a no-brainer because customers should just do this. And especially if you have your existing cloud proxies, I don't want to name any competitors, but the biggest problem in the past was if you use a cloud proxy today, your sign-in logs are all wrong. Because you will see the public IP address of the cloud proxy, not the user's real public IP address, because that's just technically, this is what we see from an Entra point of view, this is how you're approaching us. Yep. So customers would think, okay, the sign-in logs are just wrong, that's SOC team's problem, I don't care, hunting will be funny, but what they don't realize is that identity protection is also broken, because identity protection got a lot of risks at the public IP address, like impossible travel and all these kind of risks. I always see the public IP address of your cloud proxy, that doesn't help. If you use the Microsoft Traffic Profile, we have a feature called Source IP Restoration, because we know what the original public IP address was from that client. And we can update all the logs, all the identity protection, all that backend services with that real public IP of the user, and it will just work nicely without anything on top.
Probably also because you have your own, what's it called, POPs, access points.
The point of presence?
Yes. You have a better control of what comes in.
And also the user experience is better. So if you get that map on your authenticator app, and if users know, okay, that's always Frankfurt in Germany, so don't care.
You already mentioned, Peter, that a lot of features are in preview.
Yes.
What's the my last question?
The coolest feature was just coming.
Yeah. And what makes the most impact in your opinion?
So a feature which is kind of publicly known because we talked about it Ignite and announced it already, and I talked about it in my session yesterday as well. That's intelligent local access. So that's a private access feature, and this will make a huge difference. We do anticipate towards the end of the year public preview. It's currently in private preview. I have a lot of customers testing it. So the big challenge here is the GSA client has no clue if I'm inside the company or outside. It will always capture the traffic and send it to Microsoft, which is good and bad at the same time. It's good because you cannot shake off your security layer. Because in the past, when you said, VPN with MFA was my security measure, the moment I'm inside the network and have line of sight to the destination, that's just obsolete. With our solution, the client will always capture traffic and will always do conditional access. That's good for security. Latency-wise and performance-wise, maybe that's not so good. So intelligent local access basically detects, I'm inside corporate network. So I can decide as an admin per application, do I want to drop the traffic once I'm inside? So it will do authentication and authorization of conditional access
kind
first.
of split tunnel concept.
Kind of split tunnel, and then we'll drop the payload basically and say, okay, you have done conditional access successfully. Now you can go to your RDP, SMB file share, whatever, directly. So performance-wise, that's a game changer for us. So customers are lining up like hell and want to have intelligent local access.
I think we need to have a conversation after this one.
Absolutely. I would love to get you into the private preview.
I have some customers with specific these kind of issues. So
the acceptance for security, if it breaks productivity, is
because the alternative was many customers would use a script to disable private access altogether once I'm inside the network.
I was here too.
Yeah, that's worse.
If productivity doesn't work anymore, that's your own chance. But you're disabling the security layer as well.
Yeah.
That's why intelligent local access is your solution for keeping security while maintaining good performance.
Yeah, nice. Anything for you, Chris, that is coming up that we already know? Were you excited about?
So from my projects and from my customers, I hear also that intelligent local access part, so it's interesting. I think if you want to, at the end, one of the goals is we want to turn off VPNs in the private access part. And there are some other use cases like external consultants or suppliers, providers, and this is also something that has to be covered, and I'm looking forward.
So technically you are referring to B2B scenarios.
Yeah, that's your turn too.
So it's my turn to disclose or not disclose. And that's something which we announced before as well. So yes, B2B scenarios are coming. In the future, you will be able to log in with your B2B guest account to the GSA client, and you can pick a different, like in the Teams client as well.
Yeah.
I can pick a different organization where I'm a guest user, and then basically I can use private access in your company from my device. So
and
that's something which will come.
And bring your device compliance with you.
Cross-tenant access policies will work, of course.
Hey, maybe a thing to round up as well. I think there's still a huge learning curve as well. I think, it's also introducing a lot of complexity and B2B scenarios, B2C. We see that with conditional access. We are good consultants, we know what we're talking about, but there are also a lot of people that just have no clue on continuous evaluation, or they say, okay, but I've configured my conditional access policies 5 years ago and it's still okay. So I think that is also a challenge where you guys from Microsoft, but also we as consultants need to educate customers more and more. That's our job, but that is something I see, is that added complexity with all the layers is sometimes difficult for people to keep up.
I do agree, and you're spot on. We need to do more evangelization, we need to do more training. But the other thing is, I think AI will help us going forward, especially the things you don't know that you don't know. We do have the Copilot agent for conditional access, where basically it can look in your configuration and can tell you, hey, great configuration, but did you know that these 5 issues are in your configuration? So kind of a best practice analyzer.
Yeah.
So these things will come up more and more. So we will have agents for GSA and for other scenarios, which can just help you as a companion basically to understand your configuration and give you best practices for things you don't even know yet.
That was a great answer to my question. I'm looking forward for those kind of agents. Yes.
Yeah. If I want to start as a company and have a legacy VPN, I definitely should look into global secure access for the private access part. If I have other solutions, have a look at global secure access. License-wise, it's part of?
So the inter-private access and inter-internet access are 2 standalone per user per month licenses, so you can basically purchase them individually. And then there's Entra Suite, that's kind of a bundle approach, where it has private access, internet access. It also has our IGA, our governance features, access reviews, entitlement management. And then it has identity protection, and it has face check, verified ID face check. I did a very cool demo yesterday about the end-to-end story, IGA plus face check plus private access. So let me know if you want to see it.
Definitely.
And the interesting part is, so if you use 2 or more features out of that bucket, the bundle makes price-wise more sense.
Yeah.
And then of course customers which already have a P2 license or E5 license where identity protection is included, there's a discounted version because you don't have to pay twice for identity protection.
I didn't know that.
So it is basically cheaper, and then it makes even more sense to go for Entra Suite and do that whole end-to-end approach than having the standalone.
Maybe a side question in licensing. I always tell my customers talk to the Microsoft representative because it's always difficult.
It's a minefield, yes.
Yeah, but business premium and global secure access, is there like some things you think of that it will be like a bundle or something?
Nothing I'm aware of.
No, okay.
So I haven't heard anything. It might be possible, but I haven't heard anything.
Because that's at least what we see. We work for enterprise, but we have a company that's also MSP for small. In the small kind of customers, we can quickly enable that, but they are all too business premium tight. So just I know that Leo, for example, is also really pushing the MSPs to go more with Intune and manage devices and all that. So it would be cool to see also a bit of more synergy. So not only E3, E5 customers, but...
Good feedback. Thank you so much. I will channel it to the right people. No promises yet.
No, I know, but that would be cool.
Nice. Then we are done. Global secure access, nice addition into the Entra family, and I think what I already said. If you have a legacy VPN, if you want to replace something zero trust and want to introduce that into your environment, have a look at global secure access. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And if you are listening or viewing this recording, have fun on our social channels and on our YouTube podcast channel. I think we're up to a next recording with the keynote speakers of this morning. So probably there will be something about Windows AVD, Windows 365, something like that. So keep an eye on our recordings, and I say for now, until next time.
Thanks for joining the Workplace Ninja podcast. Stay curious, stay connected, and keep sharpening your ninja skills. Until next time.